praising him.
Did he tell you that he misheard, though?
Are creating confusion for leaders who are here at the G7.
I don't think there's any confusion. Let me say, these meetings have been going great. Yesterday, the president had an hour-and-a-half private lunch with Macron. I sat in, as did Larry, for the last 15 or 20 minutes. Very important on both economic issues and national security issues. This morning, we had 3 bilats with Japan. The President and Abe just made an announcement with Ambassador Lighthizer on a major trade agreement with Japan. This is a very big deal for e-commerce and agriculture. It's going to really help beef, corn, other agricultural sales. We had a very productive meeting with Canada. We're expecting that the USMCA will get passed in the next month or two. And
I was in the economics and trade meeting this morning, 2 hours. You know what? The vibes were good. There are always disagreements. You know, you've got high-powered leaders here, and there may be tactical disagreements, but every single one of them, I'm going to say this again, every single one of those leaders agreed that something's got to be done with China's unfair trading practices. Every single one expressed support on that very key point. So I'm just saying, the contentiousness and the arguments that some people were writing about 24, 40 hours ago are not happening.
But the British Prime Minister specifically said he opposes tariffs.
Hold on. Yes,
The
ma'am.
British Prime Minister said he opposes tariffs.
well, again, different people may have different views on tariffs and how we're executing, but we had a terrific meeting with Boris Johnson this morning. He couldn't have been more supportive on there are issues with China. He supports us on these issues with China. And by the way, we're expecting a terrific US-UK trade agreement. This is something Ambassador Lighthizer and his counterpart are going to start working on, and we expect to be able to do a lot more business with the UK.
When it comes to Russia, can I ask a question about Russia?
Sure.
Okay,
Just
when
to follow
sorry.
up on that,
Wait,
let me just make an add on. Boris Johnson's a free trader, and expressed that view. I am a free trader. I believe my secretary is a free trader also. President Trump has said
Free and fair reciprocal trade.
There you go.
Tell him the president proposed the three,
Yes,
the three
the 3
options.
zeros that surfaced in something I wrote a year ago and wrote it again Saturday. The president repeated it today. His vision here is 0 tariffs, 0 non-tariff barriers, and 0 subsidies. And so when Boris Johnson and others say they're free traders, the president believes that too, free, fair, and reciprocal trade. So I know you're trying to find a little bit of room of disagreement with the thing, but I didn't hear a thing this morning from Boris.
How can you say you're a free trader in the middle of a trade war?
Sometimes, you know, sometimes you got to take some stern
Because we don't
measures.
have free trade with them. That's why.
right. That's
So
true.
we do not have free trade. It's a one-way street. They have free entrance into our markets, our investments, our companies, and we do not have the same thing there. That's the only reason why we are in this situation with China. If China would agree to a fair and balanced relationship, we would sign that deal in a second.
Okay,
Your comment
the
on
president
Russia.
said that there was a lively discussion about whether Russia should be readmitted to the G7. He didn't want to say who sided with him, but could you tell us a little bit more about that conversation and how likely it is that they'll be invited to the G7 next year? I guess that would make it the G8 in the United States.
Well, I wasn't in that discussion, so I can't say literally what happened in it. I can tell you the president has not made any decision one way or another about next year. You know, my understanding and speaking to the president, there's a lot of reasons why he thinks it would be important to have Russia sitting here. There are areas of the world that we have shared interests that are important. They're obviously a big nuclear power. We're interested in other arms controlled with them. But there are issues why perhaps we don't want them at the table. So the president hasn't made any decisions on that.
The sanctions that you've placed on Iran, there are some reports that the foreign minister has now landed here in Biarritz in order to have some sideline meetings with the G7. Does the president welcome Foreign Minister Zarif to be here? Would you have a conversation with him? Should he be here?
The president has said before that to the extent Iran wants to sit down and negotiate, he would not set preconditions to those negotiations. I'm not going to make any more comments about who's here and who's not here and what conversations may or may not be going on.
Mr. Secretary.
How is China a national emergency? I understand.
He
you
hasn't yet
disagree with
declared
the
a
trade.
national emergency. He could declare a national emergency. I'm not going to go into the legal arguments because we're not yet doing it. So if he decides,
could, though, how would that apply?
again, I'm not going to speculate about that. He does have those authorities. If for whatever reason he decides in the future to use those, we'll clarify exactly how he uses them in the future.
You know, there's nothing wrong, if I may, there's And the president has exhorted this to businesses, and so we have so many private meetings with businesses, with POTUS. Stephen does, I do. Come home to America. We got the best tax system. We got the best regulatory system. It's easy place to make money. The best technology in the world. We have advanced technology way ahead of China. Come home. That's what the president is saying. Come home.
He ordered them to look. Again,
That's
I
right.
want to be clear.
That's
He
right.
ordered them to look.
Did you hear from any companies that said, yes, we're going to start looking?
Yeah, so before this, I've heard to lots of companies who are already looking. There's lots of companies that have already moved back to the U.S., back to other places. So yes, we've already seen a lot of companies move out.
Has anything been drawn up
Go
on
ahead.
it?
Mr. Secretary and Larry, if I could just ask you to clarify, does the president have second thoughts, or did he mishear the question? Does he have second thoughts and believe tariffs should be higher, or did he not hear the question?
Again, he doesn't have second thoughts about what he's done. If anything, he wanted to clarify if he had second thoughts, it would be to raise the tariffs.
And is that something that's really on the table, raising the tariffs?
Not at the moment,
further?
but it's always not at the moment. Okay, but if China retaliates again, that's obviously an option the president would consider.
Did he agree?
Mr. Secretary,
John,
Mr.
quickly.
Secretary, during the Bush administration, the Bush administration had some tariffs on China, eventually had to take them off after a period of time because it was really beginning to hurt American business. What's different between then and now, and it's believed by many people that the U.S. could win a war of attrition against China, but at what cost?
Again, we have not seen any significant cost to U.S. business at this point. I just clarified the tariffs that we did postpone for holiday. I want to be very clear. The only reason we did that is because companies had already committed in U.S. dollars to those holiday things. So that was the only reason we did that. We have not seen an impact. We do have a exclusion process that Ambassador Lighthizer is running, so to the extent there are some unique circumstances, we have not seen any inflation. The U.S. consumer's in good job. We're going to take off. Thank you, everybody.
Climate change?
Thank you. Thank you guys for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll take it.
Way to shut
So it is confirmed Greece here? We have 8 people supporting it. There is a fear of the Iranian Foreign Ministry.